Kalen walked through the quiet valley with a small basket in his hand. He was collecting herbs for the week, just like he always did. The air was calm, the wind was soft, and everything seemed normal. But then he heard a sound that did not belong there. It was not a bird, not an animal, and not the wind. It was a tiny, shaky breath. He stopped and listened. The sound came again, but very soft, almost like someone trying not to cry. Kalen slowly followed the sound, moving the tall grass aside. When he reached a fallen tree, he noticed something strange behind it. Something small, something shaking. He kneeled down and gently pushed the branch away. His eyes widened. A little dragon was curled up in the dirt. Her scales were bright and soft, glowing slightly like warm embers. She looked young, maybe too young to be alone. When she saw Kalen, she froze. Her wings tightened, and she pressed herself against the ground. She opened her mouth, trying to make a sound, but nothing came out, not even a squeak. Kalen did not move too close. He stayed calm and softened his voice. "It's okay," he said. "I won't hurt you." The little dragon blinked at him. Her eyes were big, shiny, and full of fear. She tried again to speak, but still no sound came. Only air. Kalen slowly placed his basket on the ground and sat down a little distance away. "You're lost, aren't you?" he said gently. "Or maybe hurt." The dragon shook her head slightly. She did not seem injured, just scared and silent. Kalen noticed her small claws were gripping the ground, like she was ready to run at any moment. But she stayed. Maybe she had no strength left to run. Maybe she hoped he was safe. He reached into his basket and pulled out a small fruit. He rolled it across the dirt toward her. It stopped right in front of her paws. She stared at it for a long time. Then she looked at Kalen, then back at the fruit. Slowly, she picked it up and ate it. Kalen smiled. "Good. You must be hungry." The dragon's wings relaxed a little. Not fully, but enough to show she wasn't as scared as before. "Do you have a name?" he asked. She looked down sadly. She could not answer. Not with words. Not with any sound. Kalen understood. "All right," he said softly. "How about I call you Leary?" At the name, the dragon lifted her head. Something bright moved in her eyes. She seemed to like it. "Leary it is," Kalen said. He sat quietly so she could get used to him. After a few minutes, she slowly came closer. First one step, then another. Then she stood right in front of him, small and shaking. Kalen did not reach out. He let her decide what to do. Leary touched his hand with her nose. Her scales felt warm and gentle. Kalen smiled again. "You're safe with me." As the sun began to set, Kalen stood up. "Would you like to come with me? I have food, water, and a warm place to sleep." Leary looked around the valley as if searching for someone, but no one answered her. No wings in the sky, no shadows on the hills. She lowered her head. Slowly, she walked to Kalen's side. He led her to a small home at the edge of the valley. It was simple wooden walls, a stone path, and soft lanterns that glowed at night. Leary followed him inside, taking careful steps as if every sound scared her. Kalen showed her a soft blanket near the fireplace. "You can rest here," he said. Leary touched the blanket with one paw and then curled up on it. Her wings wrapped around her like she was hugging herself. Kalen sat near the fire and watched her. She looked tired, lonely, and fragile. He wondered how long she had been alone. He wondered what made her lose her voice. Leary closed her eyes, but not fully. She kept watching him, as if she still could not believe someone was helping her. Kalen spoke gently. "Don't worry. Tomorrow we'll figure things out. Maybe we can help you find your voice." Leary blinked slowly. It was the closest thing she had to a smile. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees. And high above the valley, something huge moved behind the clouds. But Kalen did not see it. Leary did not sense it. For now, there was only peace, the warm fire, and a tiny dragon finally falling asleep beside someone who cared. In the early morning light, Kalen woke to the soft sound of movement. When he opened his eyes, he saw Leary standing beside the fireplace, watching the flames with a tilted head. Her wings were tucked close to her body, and her tail curled around her feet. She looked calmer now, but still quiet, silent in a way that felt too heavy for someone so young. Kalen sat up slowly so he wouldn't scare her. Leary looked at him, blinking as if checking whether she was still safe. "Good morning," he said warmly. Leary opened her mouth as if to answer, but nothing came out, only a breath. Her eyes dropped and her shoulders lowered in frustration. Kalen gave a small smile. "It's all right. We'll try again today." He set breakfast on the table, fruit for Leary, bread for himself. She came forward carefully, sniffed the fruit, and ate it with more confidence than yesterday. After she finished, she nudged his hand lightly with her nose, as if saying thank you. Kalen touched her head gently. "Let's start." He walked outside into the yard. Leary followed, her steps light and unsure. The morning sun made her scales shimmer like tiny sparks. Kalen knelt on the grass and pointed to his own mouth. "We'll try simple sounds. You don't need to speak words yet. Just sound." Leary tilted her head and watched him with full attention. He took a deep breath and made an easy sound. "Ah." Leary opened her mouth. Air came out, but no voice. She frowned, or at least made the closest face a little dragon could make to a frown. Kalen encouraged her. Again, slowly. "Ah," he repeated. Leary tried again. Her throat moved correctly. Her mouth opened the same way, but she made no sound. The silence around her felt like a wall she kept hitting. Kalen sighed softly, not from frustration, never at her, but from worry. Something was stopping her from speaking, something deeper than fear. Leary sat down and lowered her head. She tapped her chest with her claws, then pointed at her throat. She made a tiny shaking gesture with her wings, a sign of sadness. "I know," Kalen said gently. "You want to speak, and we'll help you." He took a stick and wrote on the ground. "Voice." Leary looked at the letters with interest. Then she traced them with her claw. She copied the word beside his, though her letters were uneven and shaky. Kalen's eyes widened a little. "You can write." Leary nodded. "Only once, very small. Then we can talk like this," he said. He wrote another word. "Name?" Leary tapped the word, then wrote slowly beside it. "Leary." Kalen smiled. "A beautiful name." Leary's wings fluttered with a soft rustle. She liked hearing that. They spent the next hours practicing sounds, movements, writing simple words. Kalen tried humming to show her vibrations. She touched her throat and tried to hum too. Nothing. She tried tapping her chest as if trying to push sound out. Still nothing. When they took a break, Leary lay in the grass looking up at the sky. Kalen sat beside her. "You don't have to rush," he said. "Your voice will come when it's ready." Leary wrote a small sentence on the ground. "Why help me?" Kalen looked at her. Her eyes were shining, but not with fear. With confusion, like she didn't know why anyone would care. He answered by writing. "Because you needed help." Leary stared at the words for a long time. Then she wrote, "No one helped me before." Kalen felt something twist inside him. What kind of place had she come from? Who had left her alone? He gently erased her sentence and wrote, "You are safe here." Leary touched the words with her claw, and then pressed her forehead lightly against Kalen's arm. It was a small, shy gesture, but it warmed him more than the sun. The rest of the day they practiced again, slowly and with patience. When evening arrived, Leary made a different sound, a soft huff through her nose, almost like laughter, but still no voice. "It's something," Kalen said with a grin. Leary's eyes brightened. That night, after dinner, Kalen brought out a tiny wooden flute. "This helps with breath control," he explained. He blew a short note, clear and gentle. Leary watched with fascination. Then she tried. She pressed the flute between her claws and blew. A weak, broken sound came out, not a note, not music, but not silence either. Leary's wings spread wide in excitement. Kalen laughed softly. "You did it!" Leary tried again. Another small sound. Still rough, still thin, but something real. For the first time since he found her, she looked proud. As she practiced, Kalen felt watched, not by Leary, but by something else. He looked toward the dark hills, but saw nothing. Leary didn't notice. She was too busy trying to make tiny notes. Kalen whispered to himself. One day she'll speak. Outside the house, hidden behind a distant tree, two glowing eyes watched them. The night breeze carried a low, rumbling breath. Leary's mother had found them. Kalen sensed it before he understood it. Something watching, something large, something ancient. But he didn't tell Leary. She was finally smiling, finally trying, finally hopeful. He did not want to scare her. Still, every night for the next few days, he felt the same quiet awareness, a presence, a breath that was too deep to belong to any normal creature, a shadow that moved where no wind should move. Leary noticed something too, but in a different way. Sometimes she would pause her practice and look toward the forest. Her wings would twitch, and her tail would curl close to her. But when Kalen asked if she was all right, she always nodded. She trusted him. So she pushed down her fear. One morning, Kalen found tracks in the dirt behind his house, too big to be human, too heavy to be any animal from the region. He knelt, touched one of the prints, and felt a faint warmth. "Leary," he called softly. She walked over and stared at the tracks. Her eyes widened. She quickly looked away. "You know what made these?" Kalen asked gently. Leary hesitated. Then she wrote one word. "Mother." Kalen felt his heart skip. "Your mother is here?" Leary nodded, but her wings folded tight, showing fear instead of relief. Why would she hide? Kalen asked. Leary wrote another sentence, slower, as if it hurt to put the truth on ground. "She is Queen of Dragons." Kalen stared at the words. Queen of Dragons. That meant power. That meant danger. And if she was watching them, she surely knew everything Leary was doing. Everything he was doing. Leary wrote again. "She does not trust humans." Kalen's stomach grew heavy. "Then why hasn't she taken you home?" Leary looked down and wrote, "I ran away." Kalen understood now. She had escaped something. Not a place, maybe a fate. Maybe expectations. Maybe silence itself. "Are you in danger?" he asked. Leary shook her head slowly, then changed it into a small, hesitant nod. She didn't know. Later that day, when Leary practiced with the wooden flute again, the forest behind the house went quiet. Too quiet. Birds stopped singing. Wind stopped touching the leaves. The whole world felt as if it was holding its breath. Leary's hands shook. She lowered the flute. Kalen placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're safe with me." She looked up at him with trust in her eyes. But trust did not stop fear. That night, when Leary slept curled in the corner of the house, Kalen stayed awake. He sat by the window, watching the tree line. Hours passed. Silence thickened. Then he heard it, the soft scrape of scales against earth. Something stepped out of the shadows. Large, tall, wings folded close. Eyes like molten gold that glowed even in the darkness. A dragon, bigger than any storybook had ever described. Kalen froze, breath trapped in his chest. He lowered his lantern so the light wouldn't wake Leary. The dragon didn't roar or attack. It simply watched him, studied him. He whispered, "Are you her mother?" The dragon's pupils narrowed. Kalen didn't know what else to say. He wanted to bow, to show respect, but any sudden movement felt dangerous. Instead, he placed a hand over his heart and whispered, "She's safe. I'm taking care of her." The dragon's gaze softened, just a little. Then she slowly lowered her head, as if smelling him, testing him, judging him. A warm breath washed over Kalen, full of heat and power. She could burn him in one moment if she wanted. She didn't. Then she turned away and disappeared into the darkness again. No roar, no threat, just silence. Kalen sat down, shaking from the encounter, not from fear alone, but from the weight of what he had just seen. Leary's mother wasn't simply watching. She was evaluating him. At dawn, Leary woke to find Kalen asleep in the chair by the window. She nudged him, and he blinked awake, exhausted. He smiled softly. "I think your mother came last night." Leary's wings drooped. She wrote one word. "Sorry." Kalen shook his head. "Don't be." "She cares about you." Leary hesitated, then wrote, "She will take me soon." The words hit him harder than he expected. He knew she didn't belong to his world forever, but he wasn't ready for her to leave. "You still have time," he said quietly. "And until she comes, we'll keep working on your voice." Leary nodded, but sadness filled her eyes. For the rest of the day, she practiced harder than ever. She wanted to speak, really speak, before her mother took her away. Kaylin encouraged her, helped her, guided her. Near sunset, Leary lifted the flute again and blew a soft, trembling note. It was faint, but clearer than before. Kaylin clapped softly. "That's amazing, Leary." Her wings fluttered with joy. But in the forest, hidden behind the shadows, the queen watched with eyes full of something no dragon had shown in centuries. Hope. Night fell with a strange kind of silence, the kind that made the air feel heavy. Kaylin sat beside his small fire, trying to focus on sharpening a tool, but his hands kept stopping. Leary was inside, sleeping after another long day of practicing her voice. She had made real progress. 3 soft notes that almost sounded like words. But tonight felt different. Kaylin sensed at the moment the fire flickered for no reason. The shadows stretched. The wind pulled back. The forest waited. Then the ground trembled. Not violently, just enough for Kaylin to know something huge was coming. He stood up slowly. A shape appeared between the trees. Dark, tall, moving with the quiet confidence of a creature that ruled everything it touched. A dragon stepped into the clearing. Not just any dragon. This one had scales like deep sapphire stone and wings that shimmered like night sky. Her eyes burned gold, bright and sharp. Every step shook the earth. Kaylin swallowed. She was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Leary's mother, the queen of dragons. Kaylin felt the instinct to bow, to show respect, but he stayed still. He did not want any sudden movements to seem threatening. The queen lowered her head and sniffed the air around him, not in a wild, animal way, more like a ruler deciding whether someone deserved to stand in her presence. "You have been caring for my child." The voice did not come from the dragon's mouth. It echoed around him, inside him, deep and ancient. Kaylin's heart raced. "Yes," he whispered. She needed help. The queen's wings twitched slightly. She ran from me, from her lessons, from her duty, and yet she stayed here. Kaylin didn't know if he should answer. Silence felt safer. The queen moved her head closer. Her eye, bigger than his whole body, looked into him, studying him, seeing every truth he carried. Finally, she said, "Show me." Kaylin blinked. "Show you what?" "How you help her speak." Before he could respond, Leary rushed out of the house, her wings flapping in panic. She stood between Kaylin and her mother, shaking, her small body tense and afraid. She wrote quickly on the ground with her claw, "Don't hurt him." The queen stared at the message. Then she looked at Kaylin, then at Leary again. A long, deep breath left her nostrils, warm and strong enough to push dust across the ground. "I do not hurt those my child protects," the queen said. Leary blinked in surprise. Her wings trembled as she slowly turned to Kaylin, as if asking permission to show her progress. Kaylin nodded gently. "It's okay. She wants to see." Leary lifted the wooden flute with shaking claws. She placed it against her mouth and tried to steady her breath. Kaylin stepped closer, not too close, just enough to guide her with his voice. "Slow," he said softly, "like the wind before sunrise." Leary tried. A short, broken note came out. She frowned, wings drooping. "Again," Kaylin encouraged. She tried once more. This time the sound was clearer, soft, shaky, but full of emotion. The queen's head lifted slightly. Leary lowered the flute and looked up at her mother, nervous and hopeful. The queen was completely silent. Kaylin stepped forward carefully. "She's trying her best. She just needs time." The queen's golden eyes turned toward him again. "You teach her what even dragons could not." Kaylin shook his head. "I don't teach her. I just listen to her. I see her." The queen studied him again, longer this time. Her eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in careful thought. She was doomed to silence. The queen said quietly, "No healer could help her. No magic could fix her. I thought she would never speak." Leary touched her mother's leg gently. The queen lowered her head a little, as if accepting the touch with pride and sadness. Kaelin smiled softly. She's strong. She just needed someone who had patience. The queen let out a deep breath that sounded almost like a sigh. Humans, you are strange. Weak in body, yet strong in spirit. Kaelin didn't know how to respond to that. For the first time, the queen looked a little less like a mighty ruler and more like a worried parent. She must return home, the queen finally said. Her place is with her kind. Lyri's tail curled close to her body. Her wings drooped. She looked at Kaelin, fear rising in her eyes. Kaelin felt his heart tighten. Does she have to go now? Soon, the queen answered, but not tonight. Relief washed over Lyri. She ran to Kaelin and hugged him tightly, her wings wrapping around him. The queen watched the embrace. Something softened in her expression. Something old, something deep, something that dragons rarely showed anyone. Respect. She turned toward the forest again, but before she stepped away, she looked back. Human, she said, you have done what no dragon could. For that, the world will remember you. Then she spread her wings, and with a mighty gust of wind, she rose into the night sky, disappearing into the stars. Lyri watched her mother go, then leaned against Kaelin, shaking from both fear and relief. Kaelin placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. She didn't come to take you yet, he whispered. You still have time. Lyri nodded, her eyes warm with trust. But neither of them knew that the queen's return was only the beginning, and the next encounter would change everything. Evan stood quietly in the soft morning light, watching Lyri and her mother, Sereth. The storm had passed during the night, and the forest was calm again. The air felt clean, almost new. He still could not fully believe what had happened. Yesterday he had met a dragon mother, huge, powerful, feared by many, and she had bowed her head to him, not for battle or dominance, but out of gratitude. Lyri stood beside Evan, her tail moving in slow circles. She looked brighter, more confident than before. Even though she still could not use full dragon speech, she understood that she had found her voice in another way. She chirped softly at him, the gentle sound that had become her way of speaking. Evan smiled and touched her forehead, where the warm glow sometimes appeared when she was excited. Sereth watched them from a short distance. Her eyes were sharp and wise, but calm now. She had tested him, watched him, and finally trusted him. She lowered her head again to look into Evan's eyes. Her voice was deep and warm. You changed her, Sarah said. My daughter had lost hope. She believed she could never speak, never be understood. But you heard her, even when she made no sound. Evan felt his face warm with embarrassment. I just wanted to help her. I didn't know she was your daughter. I didn't even know she was a dragon kid at first. Kindness does not need to know everything, Sereth replied. It only needs to care. Lyri happily nudged Evan's hand, and then leaned against his leg, as if she wanted him to stay beside her forever. Evan knelt down and gently wrapped his arms around her small neck. Her scales warmed under his touch, glowing faintly like embers waking in a fire. He remembered the first day he found her, silent and afraid, hiding near his cabin. He had no idea that helping her would lead to this moment, standing beside a dragon mother, feeling her trust. Sarah stepped closer, her wings folding neatly behind her. Evan, she said softly, dragons do not forget those who help their young. You are now a friend of my line. If ever you call, I will come. The words settled heavily in the air. It was not just a promise. It was a sacred bond among dragons. Evan nodded slowly. Thank you. I don't know what to say. Lyri chirped loudly, almost like laughter. She placed her paw on Evan's chest, as if to say, You don't need to say anything. You already did everything. Sarah smiled. A rare expression for a dragon. She wants you to know this is only the beginning. She wants to keep learning from you. Evan felt a small tug at his sleeve. Lyri was looking up at him with wide, glowing eyes. She opened her mouth and tried again to form a human word. It came out quiet, almost a breath. Ivan! He froze. Sereth's eyes widened in surprise. Lyri tried again, pressing her forehead to his chest, drawing strength from him. Evan! This time the sound was clearer. soft but real. Evan's throat tightened. He hugged her again, unable to stop the smile spreading across his face. "You did it, you spoke." Leary chirped proudly, her wings fluttering with joy. Sereth watched, awe in her eyes. "You helped her find the courage that even I could not give," she said. For a moment, the three of them simply stood in the quiet morning. A human, a small dragon, and a mighty dragon mother, all connected because of one simple act of kindness. Sereth finally spread her wings. "I must return to my territory, but Leary will visit often. She learns fast when she is with you." Leary nuzzled her mother, then returned to Evan's side. Her choice was clear. Evan placed a hand on her head. "We'll keep training," he said softly, "and you'll speak more, one word at a time." Leary chirped proudly and pressed against him. Sarah took flight, rising high into the sky with powerful wing beats. Evan and Leary watched until she became a small shape among the clouds. When the forest grew quiet again, Evan looked down at Leary. She looked back with bright eyes full of trust. He realized something then. He had not just helped her speak. He had changed her life, and in return, she had changed his. As they walked back toward his cabin, Leary stayed close beside him, steps light and happy. Evan felt the future stretching before them, full of new lessons, new sounds, and new adventures. And somewhere high above, Sarah smiled as she flew, knowing her daughter was safe and finally no longer silent. A human had changed two lives, and the story of dragons would never be the same.